You know that feeling when you think you've finally found peace, a place to breathe, to rebuild, then someone rips it all apart? That's where this story starts, in a dusty corner of Arizona, where I thought I'd built a sanctuary for my daughter, Ellie, only to watch a woman named Diane try to burn it to the ground. By the time it was over, I didn't just expose her, I made sure the whole world saw her for what she was, and let the desert itself settle the score. We'd moved to this quiet stretch of Pinal County, a place where the sun scorches the earth and the neighbors keep to themselves. I'm a single dad, used to fixing things, spent years as a structural engineer, piecing together bridges in places most folks wouldn't dare set foot. But this move wasn't about me. It was for Ellie, my 12-year-old, who's been in a wheelchair since a hit-and-run stole her legs 3 summers ago. She's a fighter, though paints these wild, colorful murals of saguaros and coyotes, her hands always smudged with acrylics, her laugh louder than the desert wind. I built our new place from the ground up, solar panels, a ramp smooth as silk, no sharp corners, everything designed to let her roll free. I thought we'd left the chaos behind, that this was our fresh start. Then Diane showed up. Diane Kessler, HOA president, lived in this ridiculous 2-story house that stuck out like a sore thumb in our 1-story neighborhood. Her mailbox had a little engraved sign, "Order is strength." Should have been my first clue. She knocked on our door the second day, clutching a clipboard, her smile sharp as a razor. "Your porch lights aren't regulated," she said, not even glancing at Ellie, who was sketching behind me. I apologized, swapped the bulbs that night, figured that'd be the end of it. But Diane wasn't here to play nice, she was here to control. It started small. Notices about our mailbox being non-compliant, complaints about Ellie's ramp, altering the aesthetic. I'd grit my teeth, make the fixes, keep the peace. But Diane's eyes lingered on Ellie, on her chair, on the way she'd wheel out to paint under the mesquite tree. It wasn't just disapproval. It was something colder, like she saw my kid as a flaw in her perfect little fiefdom. Ellie noticed it too. "Why is she always staring, Dad?" she asked one night, her voice small, her paintbrush still. I hugged her tight, said, "Some people just don't get beauty when they see it." But inside, I was boiling. Things got uglier fast. One morning, Ellie's mural, a vibrant coyote howling at a starry sky, was slathered over with dull beige paint. "HOA compliance," the notice read. Ellie didn't cry, but her hands shook as she packed away her brushes. I drove to Diane's house that night, knuckles white on the steering wheel. She opened the door, smirking like she'd already won. "You got a problem, Mr. Callahan?" she said, leaning against the frame. "Touch my daughter's art again," I growled, "and you'll wish you hadn't." She didn't blink. "This isn't your neighborhood," she hissed. "People like you don't belong here." I could have decked her right there, but I walked away not out of fear, but because I knew predators like her thrive on reaction. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction yet. The next week, our porch reeked of bleach. Ellie's sketchbook was ruined, pages curling, colors bleeding into mush. Her wind chime's little glass stars she'd hung herself were gone, and the ramp was smeared with something that looked like rat poison, glittering in the dawn light. Security footage showed Diane at 3 a.m., calm as you please, pouring chemicals like she was watering flowers. I reported it to the HOA board. Crickets. They were either in her pocket or too scared to cross her. Ellie stopped painting outside after that. "I don't want her to hate me more," she whispered, and that broke something in me. This wasn't just harassment, it was a war on my kid's spirit. I stopped playing by their rules. Installed motion sensors, floodlights, and a hidden camera under the doormat. Rebuilt the ramp with reinforced steel, daring Diane to try again. But she wasn't done. One afternoon, we found a rusted animal trap snapped shut near the ramp, its teeth stained red. Ellie saw it before I could hide it, her eyes wide, voice barely audible. "Was that for me?" That night, I sat in my garage, tools spread out like a battle plan, my old engineering instincts kicking in. This wasn't about fines or notices anymore. Diane had made it personal, and I was done waiting for justice to knock. It was a Tuesday, Ellie's only day without physical therapy. She begged to paint outside, just for a bit. Her eyes were so bright, so hopeful I couldn't say no. "Stay close," I told her, kissing her forehead. I stepped inside to take a call, 10 minutes tops. When I came back, her wheelchair was tipped at the edge of the patio, one wheel spinning, her paintbrush snapped in the dirt. Ellie was gone. My heart dropped like a stone. Then I saw her, Across the street in the community park, crumpled on the grass, Diane kneeling beside her, cool as ice. I sprinted over, screaming her name. Ellie was pale, clutching her side, her breathing shallow. "Dad, she stuck me," she gasped. I tore open her shirt. A tiny red puncture oozed just below her ribs. Diane stood, wiping her hands on a scarf, folding it neatly into her purse. "She was trespassing," she said, like she was reading a grocery list. "What the hell did you do?" I roared, lunging toward her. She didn't flinch, just smiled that razor smile. "Fragile things break, Mr. Callahan. You should have known better." I scooped Ellie up, ran her to the house, jabbed her emergency injector, and called 911. As the ambulance screamed closer, I checked the cameras. There was Diane, slipping through the park gate, a glint of metal in her hand before she tucked it away. Intentional. Surgical. Evil. Ellie stabilized in the ER, but that was the moment I stopped being a dad who fixes things and became something else, something Diane didn't see coming. The ambulance hadn't even left when I was in the garage, pulling out my old gear. Cables, clamps, a shock batten I hadn't touched since my contracting days. I launched a drone, its feed flickering on my workbench screen, showing Diane on her balcony, sipping wine like she hadn't just tried to kill my kid. Her voice crackled through the audio, "She'll live." Pity. That was the last straw. I loaded my truck with ropes, rebar stakes, everything I'd used to tear down structures in war zones. Diane's precious HOA empire was about to come crashing down. I moved like a ghost, slipping past her sensors, climbing her balcony like I was born for it. She didn't hear me until I was behind her, my shadow falling across her wine glass. "Evening, Diane," I said, low and steady. She spun, eyes flashing fear, then fury. "You're trespassing," she spat. I grabbed her wrist as she reached for something in her pocket, twisted until she yelped, and pulled out another syringe. "You like playing with needles?" I said, holding it to her face. "Let's see how you like mine." I dragged her to the roof, her whimpers echoing in the desert night. The sky was heavy, storm clouds rolling in, perfect for what I had planned. I tied her to the base of her own HOA sign. Order is strength, arms spread, cables tight, her precious rules looming above her. "You're insane," she screamed, thrashing against the steel. I flipped a switch, and Ellie's voice echoed from a hidden speaker. "Dad, she stuck me, Dad. Please," over and over, her fear cut through the wind. I leaned in close. "You tried to erase my daughter," I whispered. "Now you're the one who's nothing." I stepped back, activated the drone's live stream, and let the world see. Diane Kessler, HOA tyrant, exposed for the monster she was. Comments flooded in's hock, rage, disbelief. Lightning cracked, the air buzzing with static. Diane screamed, not from pain, but from the truth sinking in. No one was coming to save her. By morning, sirens wailed. Cops, EMTs, neighbors, they all saw her, tied to her sign, mascara streaking, voice gone from shouting. The sheriff, a grizzled guy named Walt, watched the drone footage, including Diane's attack on Ellie. "Sounds like motive," he said, cuffing her as she shrieked about vermin ruining her community. The HOA board vanished, their office shuttered by noon. News vans swarmed, but I didn't talk. Ellie's scars spoke louder than I ever could. Ellie came home a week later, bandaged but fierce. She painted again, right where Diane's sign once stood, a wheelchair under a blazing sun, a coyote soaring above, free. The neighborhood showed up, bringing food, kids, music, real music, not Diane's approved playlists. Laughter filled the street, and Ellie smiled, her brush steady. "I'm not scared anymore, Dad," she said, her wrist glinting with a bracelet her friends made, each charm a piece of her survival. We didn't stop there. I handed the DA everything. Footage, medical reports, a list of Diane's other victims' families she'd bullied for having imperfect kids. The case grew, federal lawyers got involved, and Diane faced charges: assault, hate crimes, and civil rights violations. Her mugshot went viral, her empire reduced to a condemned house and a broken sign. The HOA was gutted, its rules rewritten to protect, not punish. A new law, the Ellie Act, was passed months later, ensuring no HOA could ever weaponize order like that again. Was it justice? Revenge? I don't know. I just know I'd do it again if it meant keeping Ellie's light alive. Sitting on my porch now, listening to her new wind chimes bits of glass and which she pieced together. I feel it. We're not just surviving anymore. We're home. So what do you think? Was I right to take Diane down like that? Or did I go too far? Have you ever seen someone like Hera bully hiding behind rules tear a community apart? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. If this story hit you, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. There's more out there, stories of people who fight back, who refuse to stay silent. You won't want to miss them. Stay real, and don't ever let the Dianes of the world win.